It's muting everyone. Okay, so last night I went and saw the Odyssey. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, right? Lots of hoopla about the Odyssey, and it triggered all kinds of cool stuff for me. I was a philosophy major, like undergrad, and I love that stuff. And I had no idea back then, my younger self, as to how much that would influence just sort of how I view life and experience life now. So clearly, I was sort of drawn to it for a reason. And I think of the Odyssey as kind of it's like the OG hero's journey, right? So Joseph Campbell, um, and anyway, I'll get into it in a second here. But I was looking for some cool quotes from him, and anyway, I got three of them because I couldn't choose just one. So the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. When the hero is ready, the mentor appears. And if you travel far enough, you'll eventually meet yourself. And I think the cool thing that he put on the table was just this idea. The reason we love stories, in addition to that the brain is basically a story making machine, is that pretty much every movie we watch, every story ultimately that we're really attracted to follows this formula of what he called the hero's journey, right? So this idea of the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Of course, like nobody wants to get the cancer diagnosis. Nobody wants to get divorced. Nobody wants all these things that elicit fear. And yet, for some reason, that's also where we learn the most, right? That's where the treasure is, about sort of coming to terms with ourselves and figuring out our stuff. And then this idea that mentors appear, and mentors aren't, sometimes they're humans, they're other sort of fellow people who have some wisdom, maybe are a little further down the road, and you're like, hey, Oli, you might want to think about this or that. But oftentimes, like for me, it's also just been two things really stand out for me. One is psychedelics. It's been an amazing teacher and mentors in terms of the experiences that sort of how it's opened me up and made me see things. And the other big one for me is just nature. So really that draw for me of just spending time in wilderness on my own, or with even with other people. And there's just something really profound about, so that's a form of mentorship, the way I think about it. And this idea, if you travel far enough, you'll eventually meet yourself. And so that, I think, just touches into this idea of this whole experience of being human and being alive and sort of stumbling through life. If we're lucky enough to do it for long enough, with some degree of like awesome companionship like we have, where we, sort of support each other and you just can stay on your path, eventually you do get a clearer, more refined picture of actually who you are. And the hero's journey, what's also cool about it is there's this kind of formulaic path. And once I got this, I can't watch any movies without automatically sitting there thinking about, like act one, act two, and act three. So act one is what he calls the departure. So you're living your ordinary life, doing your thing, and then something goes awry, right? Something rocks your world. And usually we resist it. We're like, no, I don't want to deal with this. This sucks. It's painful. I'm scared. I don't want to do it. But that's usually where the mentor shows up. And then comes this willingness. Oftentimes it's involuntary, but it's like you're being dragged into this new unknown. So that's the departure. And then you find yourself in what he calls the initiation. So now you're dealing with, now comes the ordeal, like all the pain, the grappling, the discomfort, the, meeting friends, enemies. And again, these are metaphors, right? It's not just humans that are enemies or friends, but it's just sometimes, our ego can be our biggest challenge, and it I think invariably feels very lonely. It's like, oh man, I got to figure this out on my own. And it's scary and I'm lost. And then slowly, as you sort of go through these trials and tribulations, you realize there's kind of a new world order. Like you're morphing into a new state of existence. And that's where the reward comes in. And then the return is, the heroes go into the dark forest or into the scary cave, do their thing. And then at some point comes a sense of surrender. And there's resurrection, redemption, like all the good stuff that I think all the religions point to. And then my favorite part is this idea of then, you come back and you say, okay, cool, I learned something amazing, and I want to dedicate, my life or more of my time to being of service to others. And I know for a fact that we all go through this. I don't think there's just like one hero's journey. There's probably multiple that we go through in any given life experience. And I think this framework is a really cool one, and is a really helpful way to sort of work with the challenges that we bumped into. So anyway, if you haven't seen the movie, I think it's worth checking out. It was a little bit campy at times, but also, yeah, it was also just a cool reminder of like the whole poem. The Odyssey is really, it's like the OG hero's journey. And anyway, I thought let's spend some time reflecting on our own hero's journey and what that actually looks like in our own life. So close your eyes. Katie, don't close your eyes if you're driving. Just meeting the body where it is right now. So whatever sensations you're noticing in the hips, the hands, the chest, just make some space for that. Just trusting that things are perfect the way they are right now. So even if there's some discomfort or some dis-ease, just allow that to be. Trust that it's there for a reason. Of course, we do this every session, every day that we meet. I think this is one of these fundamental foundational skills to be able to just return back to just the here and now, sensations, feelings, thoughts, moods, just making space for whatever's there. And then setting the intention for the few short minutes that we have today together. Just open up to this idea of viewing yourself as a hero in this journey called your life. And I think central to this idea of the hero's journey is that there are many things that happen to us in our life that we do not choose. We are sort of thrust into them, be it our health, relationships, life circumstances, all of it. And if we can reframe those and move away from this idea, oh, they're problems, and more move towards this idea that, oh, these are opportunities for learning and growth. And also trusting that most of the time, we have no idea why this is happening, why it's happening now. What are we supposed to learn? How is this going to actually help? That's one of the hardest parts in this hero's journey, is just realizing there's a choicelessness, but it's important. And the more we can find the courage to really lean into it and just say, okay, here we go. And then comes the hard part, the discomfort, the fears, the doubts, that sense of loneliness and lostness. It's an integral part to this process. If it was easy, then it wouldn't mean as much. We wouldn't be as compelled to pay attention and open up to surrendering and learning from the experience. And so see if you can find some experiences that you've already had in life that where you feel like, yeah, I'm on the other side of this. And just remember back to when you were going through it. Again, whether it was a, you know, diagnosis from a healthcare provider, a breakup with someone that you really cared about and just feeling confused and helpless or lost. An involuntary career change, getting fired from a job and not understanding why. And I think this is why it's called the hero's journey, because we're all heroes in the drama of our own life. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage to really lean into it and live life that way and embrace the hardships, the challenges, the doubts, the unknown. And typically, the mind and the ego wants answers now, wants resolution, wants a solution to this problem so that we can stop feeling the discomfort. And that's the hardest part about the journey. And so in mythology, it's always about entering a dark cave or walking alone into the forest that has monsters in it, or setting out in a small boat into the open ocean. And those are the metaphors that are used for helping us to relate to the scary challenges. And then if we stick with it for long enough, all of it starts making sense. We learn the lessons we need to learn. And then we're able to come back and put all of those awesome, hard-won lessons into practice, and ideally be of service to others, be it our kids, our friends, our loved ones. We need to bring that wisdom back and put it to good use. If we can remember that this is just part of this experience of being human, in my experience, it makes a lot of the difficulties of life, just creates context for them, and helps us remember that we're all going through something like this. all the time. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. That's how we learn and grow. And take a deep breath in and out, relaxing your throat, your jaw, your shoulders. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and in and out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep your eyes closed. And open your eyes, come on back. We ran out of time. That went by quickly. Um, yeah, if you're into movies and things like that, and that kind of sort of mythology, I recommend you go check out. Spend whatever it is, like 3.5 hours watching the movie. That was pretty well done, and yeah, again, it was just a. I mean, it's an action movie on the one hand, but it's really like all the metaphorical stuff that's being presented there. So this is like 3,000 years, um, I don't know, worth of awesome, awesome hero's journey mythology. Anywho, hope that was helpful. Appreciate you guys, and let's do some gratitude tomorrow. See you then, hopefully.